Wonderful. Well, I'm going to get started with a short little presentation because we're going to geek out a little bit about snow and ice and learn a little bit about it and wavelengths, which I find it always helps. When I know more about something, I'll know why I'm doing it. So right now I'm going to start my little presentation, and Grace is going to let me know that this is viewing properly. Grace, if you could just verbally tell me, that would be
Yep.
perfect. Thank you. All right. Welcome to Winter Wonderlands, which is going to be a fun exploration. We're going to go to a couple of sites, actually 3 sites, to look at a few things and practice some our blues and and also do some fun just color explorations before we jump into sketching and our field site. I'm Roseanne Hansen. Those of you who are new to my workshops, I'm the Art and Science Program Coordinator at the University of Arizona Desert Laboratory on Tumamoc Hill, which is one of the oldest field stations in North America. And I also run my own Field Arts Institute through our website, exploringoverland.com. I'm a naturalist, biologist, explorer, and field sketch artist. I've been keeping nature journals and field journals for my work for over 35 years, closer to 40 now. And I love getting people into nature journaling, field sketching, and just exploring and learning about nature. And that's what this is going to be about. It's not just about the pretty pictures, it's about the whole learning experience in nature. So, why is snow white and glacier ice blue? And I think this is something we don't really ask ourselves. So the short version is water absorbs other colors of the visible spectrum. So the one that's reflected back at us is blue. And we're going to look at this in depth. But snow and ice that contains a lot of fractures and bubbles, it appears white because the grains and the facets scatter light back toward the viewer rather than allow it to penetrate the water, the solid water. All right, let's look at this a little bit more deeply. What is the spectrum? So the visible light spectrum is different wavelengths. That's the whole spectrum in the back, and then it's pulled out the visible. And the visible are measured in nanometers from 380 to 780 nanometers. So the shorter wavelengths, 380 to about 500, are the blues. And then you go into yellow, orange, and reds up to 780 nanometers. So that's what we mean literally when we say the visible light spectrum and blue light versus yellow or red. So, and what is this going to have to do with sketching and coloring and doing snow in our journals? It's because when we get down to actually painting snow, which is kind of interesting, we're going to need to understand why you're going to want to use blue in a way it's kind of counterintuitive. So here's why. So in its liquid and solid form, H2O molecules, water, absorb the red and yellow light. So that's what we just said in a short version. And now here's the cool part. Oxygen hydrogen bond, the OH bond, it stretches in response to the incoming energy from light and absorbs the red part. And that energy causes the molecules to vibrate, which then can lead the water to absorb yellow, orange, and green light, and the reds. So short wavelength blue light, remember that spectrum, the blues on the shortest end, they remain. Glacier ice, we're going to see, appears much more turquoise, that incredible blue or high elevation lakes appear very turquoise. because the hydrogen bonding in the ice shifts the absorption spectrum to the lowest energy, making it a little greener than, say, liquid water, which appears blue-blue. So glacial ice does start out as white snow, but because of the way glaciers are formed and an immense amount of pressure, it gets compressed, and the glacial ice is much more able to absorb the energy at the long spectrum. So let's look at this example. So this obviously is really blue. This is a very cool photo by Scott Kranz that just was shared by the Park Service online. And you can see how many different types of blue are reflected here, from really dark, almost warm blues, up to bright, cobalt and ultramarine blues, and of course white. So what I'd like to do is we're going to take a few minutes. We're going to jump right in to, I'm going to go back to sharing my desktop and show you. All right. We're going to play with this picture of this very blue landscape here. Here we go. And what I'd like you to do is join me. So grab some colors, and we're going to play with, I just want to show just a little bit. Grace, is that showing just a little bit of the blues in the image?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. I just want to be able to show what, so you're seeing my paper and the landscape, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're going to do, and we're going to do this both here with this photo, and then also when we go visit a glacier and visit a high elevation lake, we're going to practice blues and what I call winter colorways. And this will just help get us into the mood for how we're going to do some more specific field sketching when I take you to Southern Arizona. So right now, let's look at, let's capture the blues that we're seeing here. And I'm going to start out, I'm going to show you several different ways to do this. I mentioned in the emails that I sent to you, we're going to play with French ultramarine blue. It's not normally in my palette. My palette, for those of you who don't know, I use a limited palette of a triad, a true triad, meaning I use cyan blue, which is manganese blue hue. I use a quinacridone rose for the magenta. Remember, red is not a primary color. And then a very neutral yellow, in this case, chrome yellow, aureolin yellow. And then I have two bonus colors. I use a dark blue, indanthrone, and burnt sienna. And that's all I use. These are non-granulating colors here, and ultramarine blue is really nice granulating color, and it makes really nice snow and clouds. So if you know you're going to be in a snowy area, it would be fun to include some ultramarine blue. French ultramarine blue specifically is a little more granulating, which means literally it has a really nice texture. It has literally granules that show a bit more and soak into the paper and create more texture. Literally, this is a paper that has a lot of texture. This paper here is a little more flat, and but you can see much more of the granulation there. See how it's variegated, where a color that's not really, doesn't granulate much at all is this manganese. It's very much a flatter pigment on the paper. So now look at the difference between those two. That is ultramarine and manganese. Manganese is much more cyan, and that does make a nice color for some snow, and it also makes really nice color to start for glaciers. So it's a true cyan blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix colors to grade through the different blues we're seeing in this Scott Krantz photo. And I'm going to use the bigger paper here. So this was pure ultramarine, which does exist in that photo, or the landscape, let's call it. And now I'm going to create not only different, remember that, remember that not only, that's pure, so you'll be mixing colors, but remember also if I want lighter hues of this, here's just a very watery, whoops, that is barely showing. So a very watery ultramarine is really pretty violet color. So that's just more water. But by using my burnt sienna, adding just a little bit, it starts graying out, neutralizing more or less with a reddish. And see how that darkens and creates much more of a shadowy color. I'm going to add a little bit more blue back to that to get kind of an intermediate there. Intermediate between these two. And then I can go even a little darker. I need a little more pigment there. See how that's even darker. So that would be a good color right there for in those deep little valleys. I can make it even darker and go almost all the way to black. Now, interestingly, what I've created here by mixing ultramarine and burnt sienna is something called, it's now known as Jane's gray. There is a paint you can buy called Payne's gray, and it's spelled P-A-Y-N-E, Payne's gray. And it's, from I think the 19th century. Payne, the man, painter, mixed Prussian blue, yellow ochre, and a little bit of crimson lake, which is a red, to create very similar color to this. But those are very old colors. Crimson lake's really not really used much anymore. And Jane Blundell in Australia, a wonderful colorist, she prefers ultramarine and burnt sienna, and they call it Jane's gray. So that's basically what I'm doing here, is creating this lovely range of colors. So you can see, comparing it to the landscape, we've got a nice range of colors here, which is really fun. And then let's look at what these look like if I used my non-granulating, just so you can see. I'm going to use my manganese blue, which is that very cyan color. Let's look at that. Any questions, Grace?
Could you list the colors in your palette again real quick?
Yes, and maybe you can type these into chat while I go. So the blue is manganese blue hue. These are all, you can get these from Daniel Smith. So here is the blue, just the straight blue. And then if I go with water it down quite a bit, it's a lovely light blue. Makes a nice ice color. And then the magenta is quinacridone rose, and the yellow is chrome yellow. And we'll put these on the website too. All right, so let's now, I'm gonna add, oops, there's too much water. A little more pigment here so I have enough to play with. And I'm going to add the little bit of burnt sienna. I think I actually added too much. Let's see how that compares. A little dark there, but I can see it's got a different hue quite a bit than the ultramarine, but it will make a nice snow color for different landscapes. And you can pick any of these blues you like. Don't obsess too much on exact when you're out. And we're going to talk about being out in the snow, because actually what your eye sees, what photographs take, and what's in reality, you're going to have to choose something in between because of the way these wavelengths work and what you see and how your eye adjusts accordingly. Now you can see how that's getting even darker. We've lost quite a bit of the blue in that. Yeah, I like that a little better. And then I can go really dark. Oops. To almost black for those deep, deep shadows. So that's how you would use these types of colors to create different ranges of blues. There is one other way I also play with if I don't have my French ultramarine with me, which is a warmer blue than this is a very cool blue. Then I can create what I want using my little palette here with my manganese blue. I can add a little bit of the warm blue, indanthrone blue, just a little bit, and get a color that's closer to a warm blue, just starting right out. See, that's very warm. I wouldn't go straight indanthrone, not for snow, because it's just so dark. I would use that, however, for my shadow colors down here. That would work great, actually, and we'll probably be using that. And then everything in between. So my slightly watered down, and here's the in between. Now you see how lovely you can see bits of the different blues. I really like that, and that's why we mix colors, because you see how you can see the blues and the grays, and even because I use the warmer blue, it almost looks like there's a little red in there. It's a little bit of a trick of the eye. There is, because I added a little bit of the burnt sienna too. But you see how the variations in the different colors are what's going to create that lovely snow landscape. So look at that range of colors we got just with a few paints. So I think what we'll do now is let's go look at some of these features and create in our either field notebooks or just on a separate piece of paper. Let's create some colorways on these these different landscapes. Here's what I'm going to do. I should be able to pop right over to, here we go. Grace, is that showing the Google Earth now?
Yes.
Great. Yeah. We're going to first stop is a high elevation lake in Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming called Lake Solitude. And let's zoom down there and take a look. Now you can see it's in a bowl and you can see that turquoise color right in the center. Let's zoom down there and see what it looks like. Ooh, that's really beautiful. So what's really fun to do here is we're going to study this landscape and grab your paper. Like I said, whether it's in your field notebook or just on a separate paper. I think I'm saving my field notebook pages for when we visit Southern Arizona. And let's capture the winter colorscape here, just in little circles like I did. In fact, I'm going to start here. Let's call it, this is Grand Teton. Now, let me see if I can pull my camera over. And Grace, you can help tell me if I've succeeded here. Does that show, oops, let me fix that. Okay. Does that show the landscape as well?
There's a little bit of the landscape and then your,
okay.
And your camera.
I'm going to slide it over a little bit more. There. So what I'm doing, all I'm doing here is I just want to capture, so this is Lake Solitude, Grand Tetons. So let's everybody grab your colors and just start working on capturing the colors that we see. Don't worry about drawing things. Well, if you want to, go for it. There's no rules really. But what I'm going to really want you to do is focus on all the subtleties of a snow landscape and also the challenges of that icy water, which is presenting that turquoisey blue that we were talking about earlier because it's frozen. So I'm going to just start here. I'm going to go from lighter to dark, and I'll even just for fun, maybe I'm just going to remind myself to mark out some white. Let's see. And I'm going to do that by just creating a circle that's got white in it. That's my snow. So it's going to be, you'll be tempted to throw some browns onto that snow because your eye is seeing browns, and yeah, there's dirty snow. But I find that when I do that, it just on a sketch in your notebook, it doesn't translate well. You'll end up with a confused palette because your eye is going to translate that brown too much to be dirt rather than a snowscape. So I would err much more on the bluey side than I would brown. So I want to capture that incredible color of the water. So I'm going to go start with my cyan, a cobalt blue, something, light clear blue would work. And I'm going to drop in a tiny bit of yellow. See if I can't tease out a turquoise. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I think that's not bad. And there's several grades of that. So I would, want maybe a slightly darker one just below that. I'm just doing little circles. You can do squares, you can do dabs, whatever works for you. And then I want that range of snow shadow colors from the very dark to just a whisper. And I'm going to use I'm going to warm this up a tiny bit, or use your French ultramarine. Right now, I'm still just kind of working on the snow and ice. Oop, that's too blue. So this is, oh, that's too blue because I forgot to add the burnt sienna. Right. Okay, so now I'm getting more of my shadowy colors here. There, I just added a little more water so I could see how that looks. I need a little more of the reddish. I could also drop in a little bit of the magenta would work as well as the burnt sienna. I like the burnt sienna because it's very granulating, which makes cool snow. So now I'm getting up into the rock colors here too. So using these all in different wetnesses. So if I added a lot of water to this, it's going to be a lot lighter, and so forth. So all the way up to, let's make sure I've got almost the really dark, 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 dark. I'm using my dark blue and burnt sienna to create the darkest I can, almost a black, but a bluey black, because this is a winterscape. So I want to kind of keep it with the bluey blacks there. And the trees are pretty dark, dark green. So what I'm going to do is make a little space in my palette there. And I'm going to create a very, very dark green as part of my landscape color swatch. Whoops. So using my warm blue, those evergreens are very dark green, like so. So this is starting to look like the colors of that landscape. So that's why I call it a colorway, with the different grades of grays and blues and, ice colors, clouds even, we've got the clouds. I would totally go with ultramarine for the clouds on this one. So everything from pure ultramarine for the sky, I'm going to put that in here. And then dropping in a little bit of the burnt sienna. See, I mixed that right on the paper to create my cloud colors. See how nicely there's a lot of variation in there. Because like if I wanted to do my clouds, remember I'm just going to be dropping these in like so, So that'll help create really lovely clouds. You see that's even got the little cloud thing going there. So a couple of other tips that we'll get to. Let's see. Let's talk about dry brush versus really wet. I'm using really wet right here, but one of the things we might want to do is create a little bit of sparkle. And in that case, I don't want to cover my paper with color. I want to leave white so we get that snow sparkle thing going. Because you'll see when we visit Southern Arizona, there's going to be a lot more snow sparkle going on. So how do we do that? So let's just talk for a minute about dry brush. Couple of things. Dry brush and then spray. So first will be, I'm going to mix a color that's quite thick. Oops, sorry. There we go. A lot of pigment. And then I'm going to dry my brush off with my towel. So there's hardly any water. And then I'm going to get a lot of that gooey pigment, load up the brush. And then when I paint, I use the side of the brush so it doesn't cover a great deal of the paper. It leaves sparkles. So if I want to show kind of the snow with sparkles, that's how I would do it. That's called dry brush technique. And then there's one other way. Let's say I've got some shadow on a snowbank. I'm going to go ahead and, just too much burnt sienna. Okay, I'm going to paint in this case, a little wetter. I'm not doing dry brush. But one of the things you can do when that gets a little drier, I'm going to let that dry. It's nice and dry here in Arizona. So it's just losing its sheen. And then I'm going to take a spray bottle, which you should all have, because you should use this for refreshing your paints. But also, if I take this and spray that, I hit it once. I think that's enough. No, one more. What that does, as that dries, it's going to open up. The pigment's going to follow the water, and it's going to open it up and create little bright spots. So that's a really nice way to also open up your colors. Let's see if I have a dry one example. This is an example of what that looks like after you spray. See how it opens up little bright spots as opposed to just flat. See there? That's ultramarine with the spray. All right. Let me see. I'm going to check in now, see how everybody's doing. Should leave that up. Maybe we can just do it verbally. Grace, questions, check in. How are people doing with their colorways?
So far, it seems good. Everyone in class, I did want to make sure the yellow in your palette is chrome yellow.
Chrome yellow or Aurelian? What's it? So A-E-U. I have to write it down. A-E-R-U. Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to Google it. I can't spell it. A-E-R-U-L-I-A-N, I think.
Oh, somebody got it in chat.
Yeah, thank you. It's one of those words that I find difficult to remember exactly. So, how's everyone doing with their colorways?
Everything seems it seems good so far.
Okay, you can see I hit this with some more water because I wanted to really push the pigment. You see how that pigment went barrel? I probably used too much pigment for that. So that's a snow colorway. Let's go to another landscape. And don't worry, all these are going to be on the website for practice later too. So, but we're going to move on a little bit here. So let's go to Alaska. to the Kenai fjords. Did that pop up?
Yes.
Perfect. Amazing landscape. So if you don't know, Alaska has a huge number of glaciers, and this in the Kenai area, these glaciers. I think there's something like 20,000 glaciers in at least in Alaska. Need to double check that, but this area, the Kenai Fjords, is formed about 23,000 years ago. Really cool. But the scary thing is we are now losing our glaciers to global warming at a rate that's 100 times more than previously thought and accelerated over time. So we are losing these glaciers. It's really quite critical. I'm going to zoom in here. Let's go take a look. I have to get my zoom control bar out of the way. There we go. All right. We're going down to this glacial tongue here. And we are going right there. Wow, you can really see how that glacier comes out. And here it is on an overcast, socked-in day. Look at how low those clouds are, but you can see that glacier color and some lovely lupins. Pretty sure those are lupins. Let's take a look. Looking for, yep, you see the palmate leaves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 6, but yeah, that's a lupin right there. Cool. And what else do we have here? It's another melt pond there, and here you can see the glacier, the what's in it as it's churned up the deep earth. These go miles deep. These are huge. It's all dirt and rocks, and it's pretty fabulously gnarly. And then here we see our ice tongue coming out. So let's do another colorway. Let's practice, and let's get those deep charcoals and some brighter greens and some purple too. So this is a really pretty one. So this is, okay, I'm going to slide this over. There. And let's get some of the purple in there. Okay. Now, do your colorway for Kenai Fjords. This is Alaska. Ooh. Let's see. I'm going to want that beautiful green again. So this is your chance to practice. I'm going to pull some yellow. I always keep a mixing yellow, for dirty, gnarly yellow. You see how gross that is. And I'm going to drop in some of my cyan. It's still too green. Too green. Hardly any pure white in here, but of course there really is. But I'm going to just go ahead and start with that glacier turquoisey green. It's just almost indescribable. It looks almost too green here. Don't really like that. That's why we do the colorways too. So I'm going to do more of the blue and pull that. I need to chill it out. think I like that a little better. Yeah, just a hint of green, more blue. You want to use, for those types of colors, you're going to want to use watercolors that are nice and transparent so they're pop on the page. And then I've got that huge range of grays. So I'm going to use my ultramarine because it's just really quick. I went ahead and just dropped it in with the other color. I'm not too precious about that. And I've got some of my faraway colors. I do have some just almost pure ultramarine a little farther back. And the lupin's actually going to be, let's go ahead and, that's very close to that color. If I drop in just a little bit of my quinacridone rose, so I get some purple going there for the lupin color. Lovely. Lupin has both blues and, like, here's my gradation, both blues and purples in it. The petals have both those colors in them. And let's get our grays going here. Well, I'm going to go ultramarine. So everything from pale, very, very pale gray. Oops, that's not pale enough, is it? Pale gray, like that. To see how I'm actually just kind of continuing one long color swatch here as I play with the gray darknesses. And now oops, that got a little bit redder than I wanted, browner. But there is that, the glacier rock and ice combo is very dirty. So it's got some brown in it, that's okay. But I'm going to want there. Yeah, like that. And then of course there's some green going on there. I'm going to go ahead and create my green right in the corner here. It grades from almost black green. And then don't forget, we've got our bright greens. I'm going to mix this, whoops, right on the paper. Because there's even some yellows in there, if we look down at the bottom there. And brighter greens as well. So in this case, we've got quite a range. I don't think I have enough of the browny, dark charcoal. So I'm going to create a little more of that. Yeah. So that's kind of, I kind of like that colorway there. Everything from the bright turquoise blue. I don't like this green, that's not right, but this is better. To the lupins, to some of the highlights in the glacier, to all this range of browns and grays and reds even. And then our dark, dark greens and our bright greens for the foreground. So that's an Alaska Fjord colorway. Now, I said winter wonderland, and some of you are saying, well, this is spring, obviously, but because this would be just probably solid snow in the deep winter, but there's no Google Earth visit during solid winter here. So we cheated a little.
I have a
Grace?
question.
Yes.
So once you figure out your colors and test them, how do you remember the mixing once you start sketching and painting?
Yes. So the I'm afraid the answer is the more you practice, the more it becomes very much automatic. And yes, I've gone all the way through my colors here, but what I'll do is, and we're about to jump over to our visit to Arizona and demonstrate kind of how we go through the whole color process. But you're going to do one color at a time on your page. You're not going to do all of them at once. So maybe you'll have some scrap paper. If you've got a glacier green, you're going to mix that, color that. Then you're going to work on your blues and grays on your page, fill those in, reserving your snow. We'll talk about that. And then you add your other colors, and finally your darks. I like to do darks last because if I mess up the lights, I can fix the lights. If you mess up a dark, it's really hard to fix those. So you go very sparingly on the darks last. So you'll be mixing as you go. So you're not going to be so far away from these colors as you would what we just did. This is a good way to do it. Say you're in a hurry too, and I do this frequently. I can show you. Let's see. I'll pull some examples at the end, but I'll do a colorway if I know I'm not going to be able to maybe paint everything on site. I tend to paint almost like sketch and paint almost all on site. I don't really like to do it back when I get home, but especially in the winter, you might be getting too cold. So if you've done your colorway in your notebook and labeled them, fjord, sky, lupin, etc., glacier, far away, I'm not sure what kind of scrub is on the hills there, grasses, that type of thing. Label them, and then you'll have, for when you get back, you'll have a little palette to work with. That can be really, really helpful. Any other questions?
There are a few people that are having trouble with the differences between the two blues when you go. So if you could make that a little clearer, that would be fantastic.
As opposed to which I choose?
Yeah, which blue you're choosing.
It really is a matter of your own preference. So I liked, I wanted I chose the ultramarine because I knew there would be a lot of really gnarly grays in this particular landscape. So it gave me a lot more interesting grays. These look more purple than they are in real life. This camera is showing a lot more purple. When I post these online, you'll see this is not quite purpley. It's much more gray. So experiment, learn which blues you like to create these kinds of grays and variations. If I want to darken it or warm it up, I add my dark indanthrone blue. Here, let's see if this will. It just doesn't want to expose on everything. Yeah, I see really, really dark blue. This is the bright blue. Just doesn't like to expose on that. So what you need to do is practice. That's what we're doing here, and find out what you like, what works well for you in your blues. Just experiment until you find something that suits your sensibilities. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go to southern Arizona, which just sounds funny for a winter snowscape, but we had a lovely little storm, and I was able to head out to, it's called the Canelo Hills. Grace is going to share the location data, the metadata. Before I do that, I'm just gonna, looks like I can access the chat real quick. I just wanna see if there's anything else, Grace, that cadmium yellow is not chrome yellow. So I'll put the yellows as, actually, don't worry about the colors so much right now. I'll put those into the web page. Heather mentioned that cadmium yellow is very toxic. Actually, guys, all this paint is toxic. Just treat all your paint as toxic always. I mean, manganese blue, they're all heavy metals or really some of it like quinacridones. Those are like serious substances. So don't eat your paint. Don't pour your paint out in the landscape. I always, thank you, Heather, for reminding us. I always carry an empty bottle, and that's where I put my wastewater until I can get back to a municipal drain. So great. So how do you remember? Got that? Okay, so someone's struggling. Marianne's struggling to get the grays. So keep practicing mixing your blue and burnt sienna. Those are hard. If you don't, if you get it too red, add more blue. If you get more, if it's too blue, add a tiny bit more at a time, and just keep it going. Mix, and test it. So great. Grace, just to put the metadata for the Canelo Hills. Someone asked, are non-artist level paints made with non-toxic materials? No, don't make that mistake. Don't use non-artist level paints either. It's all got way too much filler. It won't create nice mixes. Some of them don't even mix at all. I did a color mixing class you can catch on my website. Definitely don't use non-artist level, and it's all got yucky stuff in it. And natural paints made with, dirt and stuff, it's also got toxic stuff in it. Turquoise, anything with copper oxides, not good stuff to be breathing or getting into the landscape in this way. So just assume that paint's toxic. No such thing as nice non-toxic paint, really. Okay, let's go to Southern Arizona. Here we are. So we jumped in our Land Cruiser. We all just got out. I know that wasn't a ton of snow because it started melting, but we ran down there, and it's really lovely in this area. This is about 5,000, 200 feet, I think. And there was a pretty good dumping of snow for this area. It doesn't keep snow year round at all. I'm taking you on a little spin around here. So there was still, snow in the trees and branches. And one of the things I love about our snows here is that it's a great place to track animals. So we're going to look at that here. I'm doing a little spin around. That's the Canelo Hills back in the distance. This is southeastern Arizona. It's about an hour southeast of Tucson, Arizona. And you can see the storm was moving through, and we were starting to get blue skies. So let's look at what we might see while we're here. So you're going to have the address to this virtual tour, so you can come back and play at any time you want. It'll be on the website that I'll share with you. You'll want to click on the info, read me, how to use this first. So let's look at some things. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to pull out my notebook and kind of walk you through how I would choose what to sketch and how I do that, and then how I color it in to show snow or sparkles or whatever. So these are bird tracks, which is really fun. You can see the tracks there. Quite fun. So as you use the tour, You can open any of these little circles are either images, or let's see what happened here. We were kind of the entertainment for the day for the local ravens. So I would make a note of that, love the raven shape, in my notebook, that we had a number of raven flyovers. They just were very curious what we were doing as usual. We were kind of the raven entertainment. Let's look at rabbit tracks. This is really cool. I like these. So who knows which way the rabbit is traveling, from left to right or right to left? Let's see what we have in the chat. We have left to right, left to right, left to right. Oh, we have some good naturalists. Left to right. The left to rights are winning. That is correct, from left to right. This is the, these are the back feet, and these are the toes. They come to a point, they have a lot of fur between them, so you don't see a lot of the pads, but those are the back feet. And think of how a rabbit hops. It lays down, puts down its front feet. Well, in this case, like this, bink, 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 bink. And then its back feet come up, depress, and then it hops forward. So that is a wonderful example of a rabbit track. Think about what you might want to sketch here. Remember, we're just exploring, we're walking around. Everybody can do something a little different. I'll pick something different than you do. Here's a fun thing. So what made the track in the snow? What made the bunny track? It looks like we found an elusive snow bunny. This is my goofy thing for the day. And then our dog ate that. Of course. So that snow bunny didn't last very long. What else did we see? So remember I said we're going to get to see a lot of different things here, but there was a lot of snow and ice within the trees. In this case, this is a bush called Garrya, which is, the common name is silk tassel. And so I was fascinated by the drips, and I love to practice sketching ice. So I'd probably do a quick sketch of this too. This is slow motion. It was kind of fun. So we can come back to that too. It's fun to capture those drops. And the sky was amazing today on this day. Ah, look at this. It was ever changing and very, very, it's called a mackerel sky, like fish scales. It's just beautiful. And I figured out a way to kind of approximate that too. I can show you a trick for how you would capture that. Cloudscapes is a whole other class. What else is there? There's a beautiful scene when I walked up the road. This would make a lovely landscapeito, wouldn't it? This totally windblown, beautiful bare tree, the yucca with the snow. That's really beautiful. So that's another one I might consider as just a little landscapeito. And then over here is a lovely line of white-tailed deer tracks. And I love how this shows the double register. What is a double register? Well, that is when the animal walks, it'll put its front foot down, and then its rear foot, it places exactly over the spot where the front foot was down. So why would that be? Who knows why animals do double register? I'll give you a hint. Both prey species and predators use this gait, double register. Why do you think? Put it in the chat. I'm going to show you what that looks like close up. There we go. Keeping their numbers hidden, that's a good guess. And you can see the sparkles here, how doing this would be really cool. Easier to step in the print. They already stepped in. Yes, so part of it is locomotion. It is easier. And it's also quieter. If they've put their foot down already once and they know that a stick didn't go snap or a rock, then the next foot going over. So if you're a predator, especially, it's going to put it right there. So it knows it's quiet. But it also, if you're going through snow, it's a little more, or mud or sand, it's just a little more efficient. Is that innate behavior? Well, they all do it. So really, it's got to be natural selection, and I'm not sure they learn it as a behavior. But you'd have to look to see if really young, fawns do it when they get up. That's a good question. We should look that one up. So in our nature journals, we would write a question mark. Is double register innate? Are we born with it? Would predators be born with it, or do they learn it from their parents? Good question. So another great thing to put in your field journal. And then I always carry a track ruler so we can measure the tracks. And notice the front foot is larger than the hind foot. And that's the case with deer, with mountain lions, bobcats, coyotes. Got a lot more weight up here on the head, so they need more to surface area to support that. All right, a couple more things we'll look at. Here was how I started out my sketch. I'll show you my sketch that I finished in a bit, and how I started it out. Just a very simple landscape-ito, and I captured the deer tracks. And then I started my list of species that I was observing or hearing. And, I liked this scene a lot. So I'm definitely going to want to sketch that because that gives me a lot of snow practice. I like that a lot. Beautiful. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to go back to my camera. And what did I do with it? Oh, wow, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Gave everybody a bit of motion sickness there. Blah. What did I do with my camera? There it is. Okay, let's sketch. Let's do get your nature journals out if you haven't been using them already. And we'll get set up for you here. All right, any questions so far, Grace?
Nope.
Okay. Just want to get enough space here that we can, you guys can see. I'll probably move these back and forth. Sorry for the burp. Want you to be able to see as much as possible. So I've already done my metadata just to save time. Grace has put that in the chat. And let me get rid of this. There. So I've got the latitude, longitude, elevation. This is the weather symbol for the mackerel sky, the Alto Cirrus, I think they're called. I keep a little cheat sheet of weather symbols. So cirrocumulus is one word for mackerel sky. Yeah, cirrocumulus. I did my own kind of sketches and the symbols I just love that symbol of my my sketch there. Okay, I lost my page. Right, and Grace, what was the low in Canelo?
Low today is 37.
Thank you. So I put my low temperature. We'll find out the high later. Okay. Well, I think what I'm going to sketch, and Grace is going to put this address for this 360-degree virtual field trip that I created for you into the chat. If you want to open that and do this on your own and not watch me, that's fine too. So I'm going to start with this. I really like this, and it's good practice, I think, for the snow. And how do I choose where I'm going to put stuff? You know, as I remember, we walked around the landscape. We were checking things out. We saw the ice in the tree I really want to do. So I want to leave space for that. I really liked the snow clump, so I think I'm going to do just a quick sketch of that. I'm going to do that down here, and then I think I can go ahead and just, to remind myself I want to do this, I'm going to draw boxes, because I'm going to have a narration as well. You know, prose, I'm going to be writing in here. But these boxes, maybe I'll just go ahead and do, you know, and this is all just completely your choice, and I do mine freehand because that helps me warm up, and they might get wonky wobbly. But this will be, maybe I'll do the ice in here and a deer track in here, because I already walked around and I saw those cool things. And I'll do some narrative prose in here. I'm not going to do that right now because I want to get right to the sketching. So I'm going to put this landscapito in here, probably without a box. And I'm going to capture the clumpy snow and the Nolina microcarpa. That's bear grass. Let me double check that. I just have to double check that name. Yeah. Yes. Actually, Grace, can you Google that and make sure I'm not completely messing up the name? If you can Google the species name of bear grass in southern Arizona, I think it's Nolina, Nolina, microcarpa. So I'm just going to give myself a little boundaries here so I don't make it too big. This is the extent of the clump. I'm just using little dots to guide myself, and I'll let the snow come over there. So, okay. Now I'm going to sketch in very lightly, and then later I'll go over it. There's some snow. I'm not being super perfect here. But what I'm doing right now is the outline of the snow cap. There. And then got that opening there. And there. And now I just want to get some of these. It'll take a while to get all these guys in. But interestingly, they come down and the snow has captured these. So these are captured within this. So So I don't want to make the mistake of drawing too much of these over the snow, because we want to show that capture. And I want to leave room for some writing. I can also write over this. But this did have some escapees. I'm just putting kind of dot texture. There's some other holes and things here, but mostly I'll hit this with color to give it the form. And okay, I think I'm gonna wait there. Would I put the hills in the background? Maybe, but for this, I'm probably not going to. And I'm not gonna do any of the others because I wanna get this practice with the snow in here. And then here, let's do the deer track. So I'm gonna come back to this bear grass later, but I wanna get that double register. It was so pretty and so interesting. Let's capture that. I'm going to just do dots to outline what I'm doing here, just really, really faintly. Yeah, you could use pencil too. I go straight to pen. That's just my style. I'm going to do the rear foot first. Remember, the rear is on top because it was a double register. The rear came over. So dot my shapes in here. Really shows the shape. This was really fresh because it had very sharp edges. Get that seam in the middle. That's a little dark there, but that's okay. There. Pretty good deer shape, gives that kind of heart shape. And then the front foot comes up. Whoop. And it's splayed. You notice it's splayed more because there's more weight. They're farther apart, the hoof toes. There. And that's going to give us, and we'll go in with watercolor and give that its form. And quick get the measurements. So I go with centimeters. For this, it's a little more accurate. So I wanted to say it's the same deer, so I know these are the right. So the rear was 1, 2, it's like 3. Let me look what I did. Was 3.5 centimeters. And 5.5 for the height. And the front was, I think it was 6.5 and 4. There. So we got the measurements in. So, and this was a, and this is a subspecies called Coues white-tailed deer. Okay. Now you can see the granular texture in there, why it's reflecting back no color to speak of, because of all that broken up. We see a good example of why snow is white. And, ooh, the ice strip. Yeah, let's do that real quick. And you guys are going to get to play with this all you like to practice. I'm going to put the ice strip in here, and I'm just going to do the one on the right, just for expediency. And we'll come in with the color to give this its more ice look about it. Maybe I'll throw in a leaf. But otherwise, I think I'll leave the leaves fairly, just very, very light. I don't want them to be the focus here. So I'll probably just throw some light green. On there. I want the ice to be the main focus. So I'm just going to push, I'm just totally going to not do the leaves. I want that ice is what I want. And then that drip, which I totally forgot to do. So instead of making this the drip, I'm gonna do the release. As that came off. So, and we'll make that give it some brightness and color, as it were. So basically, where was that drip? There we go. I would cut just beyond that. All right, so we'll come back to these as we have time and see how we would do our bear grass. Grace, was that right? Nolina microcarpa?
Yes.
Great. Yay. Okay. All right. So what I want to do is get some of these shadows and colors and make this look like snow. So I'm definitely going to use the ultramarine here. Let's see. Well, I'll probably blork on my page if I do it that way. So you're not going to quite get to see. I'll do it here, and I may end up splattering, but that's okay. And I'm going to go with, I'd be tempted to go almost with the pure ultramarine, just watered down to create my lightest shadows here. Because it's a bright day, I've got the bright blue in the sky. I think that might be really nice. So I'm watering this down quite a bit. And with pure water, I'm not going to try to be too exact here, but this is just pure water. I'm going to wet the snow part, so when I lay in this color, I don't get hard edges. It's so dry that this is drying almost instantly. So let's see what happens. So let's get this shadows here. I want to kind of drop that in. I'm just giving it some form. leaving the bright bits around the top where the sun is hitting. And I'm going to leave that for now because I don't want to overdo it. Can always come back and add. I'm going to make slightly darker now by adding the burnt sienna. You see how that just instantly starts turning it a little more charcoaly? And now I'm going to go into these edges here. Let's see. I want to show that this has form. Not doing all of it, just enough. On the underside here, because the sun's coming down here. I don't want to do that at all. Got this underside. And later I'll be coming in and doing quite a bit more dark, and I'll show you why. This is going to have more going on here. All right, I'm going to leave that for now so I don't wreck it. And then let's go in and hit some dark green. So I'm using my dark blue, really dark blue. There's a lot of variation in the colors on this bear grass, so I'm keeping the mix really loose. In other words, there's a lot of marbliness in my color palette here. I haven't mixed a solid green because what I want to do is I want to have different colors of green. Oops, be careful. All right, so just, I'm not going to make that totally solid because it's not, but I want to show, that coming in here. Now, one thing that's going to make the snow pop is to put enough darks right behind the snow edge. So I'm being careful here. I'm putting my dark green, because that's what's going to make the snow really pop. You see how that's already starting to look like bunchy snow? Because I need those darks right at the edge. Pink, pink, okay. Kind of rushing here. I want to, yeah, we're doing okay. And then I might go and let that set for now. Maybe throw a little lighter green, just a little. Because I almost yellow, because there's some dried bits that show. Just throwing some yellow, darkening that. And then I want a really dark center mass here. Even darker. Dark, dark. And you can see that really is helping the snow part pop. You know what? I'm not going to overwork this too much. I'm going to let that sit for now. But you can see how that's working there. The next thing I would do is probably taking some of this dark here. Oops, there was some yellow in there, so I'm going to need to darken that back up. And I'm just going to do a kind of formless background here, since I didn't draw anything, but I want to show that as a snow edge. So there's this kind of this amorphous stuff in the background. That's going to help make that pop, and then I could go in later and just barely scribe with my pen, maybe a few branches and things. Maybe I even throw some burnt sienna color in there while it's wet to show something else back there. There. And that'll dry pretty much more faint than it's showing. So with just that pretty ultramarine is showing that as a clump of snow, which I really like. And then I left white so that sparkles. So let's let that dry. And how would we do we'll do I think we have time to do both. The ice, let's see. Well, I'll do the deer tracks first. Any questions, Grace?
Not so far.
Okay. So to get these sparkles around here, to show kind of snow, I'm going to do just really, really, really dry brush and I'm going to err more on the blue. I'm going to use ultramarine again. Even though my eye is saying it's really gray, I want to show blue because then my brain is going to go, oh, well, that's cold, it's snow. Gray, even though, again, we're going to have to kind of fool our eye. And yes, this is white, but we want to get those sparkles. So the dry brush is so that I make sure I've got plenty of white left. And what I want to do is practice for a minute, see what I have in terms of what's on my brush. I'm literally using the edge there. I'm going to just sort of go with that for the moment. Barely touching here. Oh, I don't want to overdo it. So I left it at that for now. And then I am going to use mix some ultramarine and burnt sienna, kind of that Jane's gray, to get the shadow colors for the tracks. That's way too much red. I want more blue. Okay. That's got a nice, let's see if I show you on a swatch. It's very blue-gray. It's showing very purple in this camera, but it's more blue-gray. And then what I'm going to do, I want to show, I'm just getting this damp here with clear water first. And then I'm going to drop in a little bit of the shape. And I'm using my fingers to kind of move that around. This has, just want to show a little bit more shadow like that. Go pull it up a little more. I'm gonna let that dry and then work on it a little bit. And it's a little darker. Now this one is a deeper print, so it's going to be a lot darker, and there's a sharp edge here. And really deep in the toe. Oh, I totally missed. Ha, I'm gonna have to pull that out. I blorked. It's one of the reasons I like lifting watercolors, is it's a little easier to lift them out when you make a mistake. So I think I'm gonna let those dry for now, because that shows me more of the shape. I like that. And now let's give this ice some shape. I know I'm moving quickly, but we'll be able to come back and go over things too. Is that exposing a little better? Nope, other way. It looks very purple, but it's not that purple. All right. Getting this wet again with clear water. Oh, we need our water drip. There we go. Oops. There we go. Okay, clear water. So I want to give this some form as ice. So I'm going in here with this, and I'm just going to drop in. See, I'm just stippling. Not all the way to the edge, because I want that bright edge. There's a kind of a shelf here. I want to leave that bright. And again, I think I can darken this to show form. I want to leave plenty of bright, so don't want to overdo it. This looks a lot darker than, oops, there. And then that drop actually it's got a little bit darker reflection in it. So I darkened that up a little bit. And I'm painting it with clear. And what I want is just barely to touch that. That's going to dry a lot lighter than it's showing here. And I'm going to leave that. And then while that's drying, I can create those leaves. One quick tip, those have light veins. If you haven't seen me do this before, I use waxed paper and a pencil. I've marked the top. Ooh, see my water droplet doesn't have enough, it spread out too much. I put too much pigment. So I'm going to want to rescue that. It needs more of a bright spot. Whoa. Even that. I might even, later I might have to go in with some white gouache. Oh, sorry, sidetracked there. So wax paper, mark the top so that the waxy bits underneath. And then I'm going to scribe over the parts of the leaves that I want to reserve the veins. Kind of fun. So when I mark green over that, it's going to reserve those and show the whites real quick and easy. I did the same thing to do the mackerel sky. This is how I did. I'll show you on my other pages, the pages I did on site. This is how I did the mackerel sky. So I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, let's get this green laid in. This is fairly light green. Kind of dull green. So if you want to dull something up, mute it, add its opposite color, which in this case is just a dab of red. So that muted that up nicely. See there? So now I can go in and quickly get some leaf action here. There. And maybe darken this in between because that's going to push that back a little bit. That's gonna, ooh, that looks really dark on the camera, but it's actually not. What I want to do is have this be a little bit more amorphous, if you will. This isn't, the leaves aren't the subject. When it dries, it's going to push that back. And now I also want to just have this color, which is going to help these pop. And then it looks more like ice. You need that contrast. think that helps a little bit. I'm going to let that dry. And I can come back later and add little maybe shapes of leaves. I don't really like the way this came out, and I could use a little more form in here, but it's a little too wet to be working on right now. All right, let's see what we've got. Let me show you what I did. Let's see, time. Yep, I'm going to show you what I did on site when I visited and created this website. I'm putting this over this so I can turn the page. Right. Okay, let's just pull this over. So a couple of things. So this is what I did while I was there. I did the landscapeito. I popped in my Raven. I did a more pull away landscapeito. The mackerel sky, I reserved the clouds by using the wax paper. You can see that fits like right there. So it gave more of those bumpy mackerel looking fish scale. Threw in some of the sky coming out. I like the way this ice bit came out, and that's because I reserved more of the white and then added a little more dark, and we'll go back to the other one. It's the dark against the light that creates the contrast. So you can see here, that's what makes this snow. This is what makes this water and ice, the darker contrast around it. So making sure I have plenty of darks behind the snow bits is what makes this look like snow instead of just an unpainted dirt landscape. That makes sense. So going back to this one, I actually really am liking this one a lot. I can go in and add more detail with my pen. This one's not doing too badly now. You can see how that dark pushed it back. And the thing that's going to help this is if I create more of a dark in there to give it kind of shape. Back to that. See how that, and same in here, you know, I can add more texture and darks is around the whites. So find where I've got plenty of white, and that's where you add your texture and darks. Like that. And that's going to help that. Then you go, oh, that's ice. That's a little bit more textured and interesting. So, Grace, we need to do Q&A. So I'm going to stop the screen share for now, and let's do Q&As because we've only got about 10 more minutes. What have we got?
What kind of pen and ink do you use?
Yes, I always get this question. I should probably start with that usually. I use a fountain pen, couple of different kinds I can really recommend. This is my own, where am I? This is my husband gave me this 35 years ago. This is a Mont Blanc. They don't even make this one anymore. They're very expensive now. It's got a gold nib, and I can make the faintest little whiskery lines. I can make big fat lines. I can do stipples. I love that. And I use a waterproof archival permanent ink in here with a cartridge. It's refillable. This has a little pump, and I just suck the ink in. I like that because I don't like throwing away plastic. But the volume that I do, nature journaling, I would go through a micron pen probably a week, and that's a lot of plastic to throw away. This is a Lamy Safari fountain pen. They're 29 bucks. Fantastic. They're French. You can get their steel nib and fine is fantastic. They also have a fancy gold nib. Gold is just really flexible, forgiving, and beautiful if you really want to geek out, but you don't need it. So I love this one too. This is my second go-to pen, always with me. So that's what I use and why. I can put, Lamy Safari, if you can put that in the chat, Grace, it's Lamy, Lamy Safari. Oh, so how I did the mackerel sky, someone's asking. I did the same thing with the leaves on the sky. I traced, you can actually see, I have to put it back on, but if you look at the recording, it'll, I laid this over and it shows where I scribed, where this is wax paper. So wherever you scribe, you're putting wax down, you're reserving whatever that color is, whether it's the white paper or another color. I use it for tracks. I use it for anything that you want to quickly reserve. You can use something called Frisket, which is a liquid, comes in a tube, has to dry, and then you can paint over it, and then you have to peel it off. But that's, I just, for field sketching, this works great. You can also use white wax-based colored pencils, work great too. Or there's also clear ones you can get, or wax crayons, or birthday candles, they work too. Someone suggested you can use an embossing tool to dip down into the paper and then paint over it. You just have to be careful that your paint doesn't flow into the embossed part. That works too. So, other questions? Well, I have no questions. Feel free. Does anyone want to share what they've done? Turn on your video and we can share. Perfect. Okay. Shoot. I'm going to unpin myself.
So I just went with the full landscape.
Fantastic.
I didn't get it all done.
Nice. Yeah, I went really
Did it
fast. Fantastic. Now, what colors did you use?
Well, I worked from some of the samples I made when we were doing the color studies.
Nice.
But it had a little bit more green, I think, and some yellows because of that grass.
Yes.
And the shrubs in the background weren't deciduous, so I had to add some of that in too. But
nice.
Very much enjoyed the process. It was lovely. Thank you so much.
I like your, can you hold up your color swatches again so people can see how you did that?
Sure. There we go.
Yeah, I like that. Nice and neat and orderly. Mine is always an absolute mess.
Well, I can't get past it, I'm afraid. It'd be better if I was a little more messy.
I understand. It looks wonderful. Okay, let's see. Who else? I'm going back to gallery view. Connie? I've got Connie. Okay, let me pin you. Hold on. And so you're that. Okay, go. Oh, look at you. Also neat and tidy.
Those are my colors, but pretty much followed yours, except I probably used pre-mixed deep and dark greens, but I hadn't ever used Magnetes blue, and that was a lot of fun today. And between the Paynes and the Janes grays, I like Paynes. It was more granulated and a tad bit lighter, whereas I had to be much more careful with Janes. So that was my color.
So you have purchased, let me just clarify, you have the Daniel Smith Payne's gray and Jane's gray?
Yes.
Okay, because you can buy those.
Yeah.
I was making
I bought them.
Gray, but yeah, you can buy them pre-mixed, so it's nice and fast. Those are really pretty.
I do a lot of when I want a lot of variation grays. I do the burnt sienna and ultramarine blue a lot when I want to get those in-betweens rather than using just a straight gray.
Okay. Okay.
So then I did and I'm not sure, let me see if I can get these so they show up better. Then I just did every one of the scenes. I mean, these are quick sketches. I don't know that my little icy pond looks too icy and snowy, but that was one. Then this was the next one with the little flowers that were in the front.
Nice. I like the way you captured the colors by doing like super fast landscape photos.
They're very fast.
Yeah.
And this was the last one, but I really liked the road. I mean, I did do the footprints, but I really liked the road that led into that.
Very
And
nice.
then your grasses in the middle. And I can't say I totally captured the sky, but I've not played around with skies a whole bunch with all the different kinds of clouds. So
Yeah,
that was
that's a
kind
whole
of that was
other
a
thing.
first.
We're going to be doing a whole sky cloud class at the
Thing. Oh, that'd be great.
at Wild Wonder. We're going to do that.
Oh, okay, good. I'll look forward to that.
Sweet.
And then this is the footprints and the little hanging ice. It was a good try, but that's I'll
That
make
was
sure it's
hard.
labeled ice. I'll make sure it's labeled icicles so you know.
I had a
So a
hard
lot of fun.
Thanks,
Fun
Connie.
following along and testing some of the colors because I went and dug deep in my color bucket. So thank you.
Nice, thank you. Let's see. Switching back. Did I see Leslie Fritz? Did you want to share? Nice. Let me pin you.
If basic sketch drawn,
Nice. I like that.
still working.
I went really, really fast, and remember, I was also there once already, so I had a head start in my brain, right? So I was cheating.
Thank you though.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Time for one more. Valerie, looks like Valerie's holding hers up. So let me pin you. Sweet. Okay. Thank you.
Hi. So this is my first page with my color swatches.
Nice.
I'm not pinned on mine, but that's okay. I can still kind of figure out my light. Let me just angle. Oh, there we go. Thank you. So that was the first page with the color. What did you call them? A color wave or a color ray?
Colorway. COLORWAY. Colorway or color swatches.
Okay.
I call them colorways, and I'll label it in my journal. I'll say, winter colorway Canelo Hills or something like that.
Right. Yeah. I'll maybe put that in the chat. And then this was the, what was that? The glacier, just kind of quick color of the glacier. And I left plenty of room for my metadata and stuff. And then this was the fjord, just quick colors and the loop in. And then the last one, I like the grass. I don't like my other two, but the grass I like.
I do too. Nice.
So thank you. It was really a lot of fun. I love these. I have others back in here from you from previous.
Nice. I recognize that. Sweet. Thank you.
I guess that was Australia or someplace or Utah. I don't remember.
That was Utah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So thank you very much. This was
You're
a lot of fun.
welcome.
Thank
Well, thank you. Let's see. Remove. Okay. Well, I think we are now at the end. We are going to Heather Krellin asked what the plant with the ice was, and I put that in the chat. It's Garrya, Garrya species. I don't know which species, so just put SP period. I didn't key it out. There are at least 2 down there, so I didn't want to guess. So we'll have a website. I'll be sending you a link to the page and all of this information, the links to the virtual tour, so you can go back and play. And I want to see somebody sketch the snow bunny. And the recording. So we'll have that by tomorrow, I think. And one I think, Grace, if you can put I did forget if you can explain the tip jar for me, please. I've got,
Yes, I'm going to be putting a link in chat for tip jar. So if you like this, it would be fantastic if you could support us by giving a tip.
and she's dropping the address for that into the chat, and I'll also put that in the email. So thank you, everyone. This was really fun that we got to play in the snow. Hi, Heather. Thank you all for coming on a Saturday. And yeah, exactly. Hot chocolate. Woo! Mine's cold now, though. So thank you, everybody. And post your stuff online or send it to me. I'll put it on the website too. So thank you. Someone's cat just bombed Heather. Heather's cat's butt. That was.
This is why it's really hard to follow along. But yes, they enjoyed the program as well.
That was really funny. Your cat needs to brush on his bottom. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. This was great.
Thank you. Bye.